You know, when I started in photography, it was wandering these back alleys. You know, an old manual film camera, some Neopan 400 in there, and you couldn't wait to get back to the darkroom, process that in Rodinal, and see what you got for the day. Those were good days. You know, they were fun days. And those days are kind of gone because digital has changed photography so much. But today, folks, we're bringing you the Leica Monochrom. We've got a pre-production model here. We're going to see if a camera in this day and age can bring us back to our roots, you know, shoot black and white in a more traditional manner. See if a camera like this can bring us back to what we first fell in love with in photography. Now, at first glance, the Leica Monochrom looks a lot like an M9, and that makes sense because it's modeled off that camera, with a very flat finish though in the front, no Leica red dot, very incognito. In fact, the only way you can tell it's a Leica Monochrom is because it says it right here on the flash shoe. But of course, what makes this camera so unique is what's at the heart of it. Got a brand new 18 megapixel full frame black and white only sensor. Now, with no RGB color filter array and no demosaicing required, this camera promises not only better high ISO performance than a Leica M9, but also sharper results, better resolution. Now, of course, this is a pre-production camera, but we are going to show you folks some photos and let you judge for yourselves. Now, one of the very cool things about having a black and white filter only is we can go back to using traditional colored filters. I mean, undoubtedly, taking a color image, putting it into Photoshop and be able to play with your color sliders gives you infinitely more control. But you know what? This takes you back to a simpler time, and it was a lot of fun. I used to carry these all over the place. We got green and red here. We got green trees and leaves on top of a red post here. I've shot one photo you can take a look at here without a filter. But I pop this red filter on, make anything which is similar to the red go brighter, and anything which is opposite, like the leaves, go darker, and we'll see what we get. And then we get a much contrastier effect. So it's a great throwback. Maybe it's not the most effective thing, but that's not the point. The whole point of having a camera like this is that you can shoot in a purist way, in an old-fashioned way, and really enjoy the way it used to be. The Monochrom has a rangefinder magnification of 0.68, which puts it very close to the 0.72 that you'd find in traditional film like the classic M6. And you know, while we're on the topic of street photography and using these cameras, I mean, what makes a rangefinder so good for this kind of photography? Well, it's light, small, doesn't look imposing. You don't have big white lenses coming out of the front of this thing. And of course, it's very quiet. The Leica Monochrom actually has a setup so that you can set a very soft shutter release if you want. And you can also set it up so that it won't do the main drag of the shutter until you let go of the button. This means I can make a very sneaky, discreet shot, and then I can just hold it, wait till I'm safely away from the person I'm trying to take sneaky shots of, and then let go and let the loud part of the shutter happen. So that's a pretty interesting feature too. Now, rangefinders do certainly represent a different kind of shooting, a more purist way of shooting. Now, one of the obvious changes, you're using a viewfinder, you're using frame lines. You can see an example of that right here. Now, it's nice because you can see the action coming from outside of the frame, especially great for street photography when you're shooting people. But it is a bit more demanding on the photographer because you're just using the frame lines as composition. But unlike an SLR, you don't get to see things like depth of field. You don't get to see things like perspective and how your lenses change that. So you have to pre-visualize things in your mind. And that's part of the fun of using a rangefinder. Of course, their small, compact design doesn't tend to intimidate people on the street either. And then you couple that here with a fantastic black and white sensor, and this really does suit itself in urban environments like we have here today. Now, because we're shooting street photography today, I thought we'd hook up with a few photographers from YYC Street. They like to do their own street photography, sell their work, and so we got a good mutual arrangement. We get some photos for our video, and they get to play with the brand new M Monochrom. All right, so when it comes to film, I don't know, in my opinion, unless you shoot Delta 100 or Neopan 400 or Tri-X, you've got crappy taste in film. I don't know, what do you think?
Those are my 3 favorite films right there.
Yeah, see, exactly. What about you, Chris?
I'm kind of a Delta 3200 kind of guy. Push it to about 25,000. That's about where I'm comfortable.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks.
Oh, you're one of those. Pierre?
I'll shoot Neopan 400 and I'll shoot the 16 if I can get it.
Yeah, Neopan 1600, beautiful, beautiful film. Well, one of the nice things about the Monochrom is it actually comes with Silver FX Pro 2 software. Now, this lets you basically mimic any kind of film out there that you like. So even if you're one of those sick people that likes TMAX, you can make your photos look like you shot it on TMAX 400. So very, very cool software, folks. Comes with it, and it really lets you get that nostalgic feel back.
One thing I like about this camera is that there's no markings on it anywhere. Obviously on the back you have the little one, but nothing on the top, nothing on the
no
front.
classic Leica red dot, right?
It's a lot like the MP, and I really like that.
So nice discreet camera, but I mean, you got a huge blazing Leica on your shirt.
I like to tape my cameras up, so today I came prepared.
Oh.
Stealthy.
Yeah, that'll work. All right, Pierre, so you shot the monochrome a little bit. What's your initial impression?
Well, the first thing I noticed was the LCD. I really thought it was kind of sad that on the M9 it didn't. It was just worse than a $100 point and shoot, and it doesn't seem like much, but you know they could put that in there, and they did, so I'm happy.
Yeah, it's got the sapphire coating too, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, sapphire. If you're born in September, it's kind of a big deal.
Okay, what's happening with those ladies over there?
They were trying to figure out if I did event photography.
Right,
and-
which of course you always say no, I don't.
Yeah, of course not. And the entire time I was just shooting them, and they just got a bit embarrassed there a little bit.
Nice. Oh man,
Yeah.
you're making them laugh and stuff.
There you go. And then it ended with me giving out my personal number. So
Nice.
yeah, it's all the
There
it's
you
all
go.
the monochrome right there.
The monochrome, it's been proven, will get you dates. Okay,
Yeah.
that's written in stone. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, good reason to buy it. All right, Stefan. So other than this camera getting you invited to parties and hooked up, what have you thought about it so far?
Well, honestly, it feels great.
Yeah.
Like it feels like an old friend. As far as digital cameras, it's the most intuitive, fastest shooter, at least for my style, that I've played with yet.
You love rangefinders.
I love
right?
rangefinders. I find it a lot easier to focus. Honestly, though, I think I'm more in love with the 50 Lux that you let us use, because this thing is incredible. But from what I've seen and just looking at the photos on the back screen here, I am very, very impressed.
Very cool. All right, Tate, so you've already scared a couple girls in their car with this camera. We got some sweet candid shots with it too. Now, again, you're used to using an old beat-up M3 double stroke. I mean, classic street camera, right? Manual everything. You're used to shooting that thing at like, what, 25,000 ISO you're pushing yourself to? So now with the monochrome, as a tool for street photography, the way you use it, what do you think about this compared to that?
Well, it's got excellent high ISO. I mean, you can shoot it at 10,000, which almost gets us to 25.
Yeah, right.
Almost. But the viewfinder's gorgeous. It's really, really easy to focus.
Right.
I mean, it's quite dark out here.
Were you finding it easy to acquire targets, like easy to get the focusing pinpoint?
It's pretty
in your
easy.
shots?
Like you just see it a little bit more clearly than a 1957 viewfinder. So I mean, we're shooting wide open basically here at 1.4 on a 50. So
Right,
I mean,
you need that
very narrow
accuracy.
depth of field. So.
Absolutely.
So all in all, fantastic. Very, very quick. I really like it. I want one.
All right, so we're doing plenty of shooting here in low light now. The lights come way down, and I gotta say, we are all very impressed with the low light performance of this camera. Now, shooting at 3200 ISO, which we've been doing a lot of here tonight, the noise, or even grain, I mean, you could say grain, because honestly, it looks like film grain on this, very organic. The grain on this at 3200 reminds me a lot of Tri-X film at 400 ISO. So we're getting 3 stops benefit and still getting a very sharp, coarse, organic look to that noise. You know, we've also pushed it to 10,000, and of course at 10,000 it's getting kind of soft and it's really noisy. But still, it looks a lot like high-speed black and white film. And I think thanks to that RGB color array missing off the filter, we still get good results. All in all, this camera is deserving of the praise that it's getting in low light situations, and really a fantastic camera for this kind of low light street shooting. So the Leica Monochrom, very unique camera. We had a lot of fun shooting today, and it's a perfect camera for this kind of photography on the street in low light. But, you know, there's gonna be a lot of people who look at this camera and say, well, it's a rangefinder. I mean, that's limited, but you know, rangefinder's always been about a different kind of shooting, about having fun while you're shooting, about shooting and seeing in a different way. So I don't think that's a downside at all. Now, of course, a lot of other people are going to say, well, black and white, I mean, why can't I have my color as well? And you got to remember that having a black and white only sensor, not only does it give us better image quality, for sure, but it gives us the ability to use classic filters. It's the only camera on the market that shoots digital and yet lets us feel like we're shooting a film camera, and all the fun that went along with shooting a film camera. Getting to see grain structure, getting to have different contrast based on the choices you made at the time of shooting. This is really bringing back an age-old nostalgic kind of photography into the modern age, and for that I'd say fantastic way to go. Pick one up if that's gonna, be right up your alley.